All right, hello friends. My name is Doug and this is
Dale.
Welcome to a unique special edition of Third Stall Garage. We're not in the shop, as you can tell. This is probably going to be part 38, if you can't tell, of the restoration of a 1966 Volkswagen Beetle named Hendrick. And Dale, where are we?
Yeah, so, we had chatted a little about ending for the summer, and really, I was kind of curious. I had gotten lost. This 1 year journey has been taking longer than a year.
A whole chapter of our life.
Yes, and it was just a chance to go back and say, okay, how did this all start? And even some pictures that we haven't seen, if somebody has been watching the whole video series from several years ago. But this is a synopsis. I definitely have lots of family and people are interested, but maybe not necessarily interested in spending 3 years of their life watching every video. So there's a lot of people I know that are interested in the summary. And so, we also have access to this studio through one of my kids. So that's super cool.
This is fun. So it's going to be a little time of reflection. I'm curious, how many people do you think have watched every episode?
Ooh, I know I have.
I have, only because I have to edit them. I think that's the only reason why.
So
actually,
there's two.
It's two.
There's two.
Actually, it'd be kind of fun if you're somebody that has watched every episode of this Hendrick restoration, post a comment below with your name or maybe where you're from if you want, so we can just,
or even a majority. Let's pare it down a little.
You think there's nobody?
If you're following the journey at all, it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay.
So here's I really do feel like we're at a nice critical turning point here this summer. So I decided to go. So you've seen none of these pictures.
I'm going into this blind.
And so some of this is going to be stuff you don't know. And then I've got some things. So I'm kind of curious about this. All right. So we start out. This is pre-Doug. I did not even know you when this first picture comes up. All right.
The good old days.
There we
before
go.
I ruined your life and your car.
Spring break. That is not Doug. That, in case you don't know, I'm that one.
I've never seen you with that much hair.
Yeah, I've got a lot more hair.
Is that Fred?
That is Fred.
That's Fred.
So that is me and Fred, and we have just gotten back from a spring break trip where we went down to the Gulf of Mexico and we went to New Orleans. We're in college. And that is the college car. I got this. This is my 1972 Super
72.
Beetle with an automatic stick. Its name was Willie. Which stood for Wilhelmina. And my tagline was, Willie, she'll get you there and might get you back. But that is my first Beetle, and I got it. I might as well have just written on the note. I got it by leaving a note on the windshield, and I should have just written, "I'm a sucker, take my money." But I said, "I love this car. Contact me if you want to sell it." And then of course I couldn't leave a phone number because nobody has cell phones and stuff like that. But anyway, and so I ended up it turned out the guy was a senior and didn't think it was worthy of whatever college degree job he was going to have. And so I bought that car.
He was a senior in college?
He's a senior in college. Okay. And he was graduating and he was selling his Beetle. And sadly, I sold that Beetle. Because I had the engine rebuilt. And this is this picture would have been probably 1990. And back then there was still fun buggies in Grand Rapids.
Yes, been there.
And a shop just for Volkswagens. They rebuilt the engine. The guy who bought it was going to junk the car, which is a little teary to say. He just wanted the engine, and I love that car. But so that's
what'd you buy it for?
Love. I don't even know. I don't know.
You don't remember?
I honestly don't know.
Was that the first car you ever owned?
It might have been $1,000, no more than $1,500. I think I paid $1,500 for it because
Okay.
And then sold it.
Was that your first car you ever owned?
That was the first car I ever owned.
72 Beetle.
Yep.
First car. I did not know this. First car I ever owned, 72 Beetle. It was yellow.
Uh-huh.
Bought it for $750. Drove it through 3 years of college and sold it for $500.
Nice.
So not all bad.
There we go.
It got me most places most of the time.
That's-
Sometimes I had to push start it myself. Sometimes I had to run around the back and connect 2 wires and push the carb to get it started, but got me there. No heat whatsoever.
Oh, no. Yeah, all the body was very rusted out.
Yeah. Yep.
So there you go. So that's the start. All right.
Wilhelmina.
So this is
I remember a car that looked like that once.
yeah, this is I at one time I owned 2 Beetles. So this is Hendrick when I first bought it. So we are looking at a picture of, I call it the Bugs, and I keep it in my
Bugs.
phone.
Okay.
And I had just bought it in 2013, driven it home, parked it next to my O2, the 2002 Riviera Blue, which unfortunately that car is no more. We sold that, and you sold it for more than I was going to sell it for, and the additional money is helping to finance third stall.
Yes,
So-
that's where we get our shop supplies out of.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's a 1-year only color Riviera Blue, and anyway, so this is
And this is Avogadro.
Avogadro because I teach chemistry, and there's Avogadro's number, and then Hendrick is just a good German name, and my father's name is Hendrick. Anyway, whatever. They have meanings. So, but this is the first time Hendrick came home, and if you look closely, we're actually leaving to go camping. So, cool. There it is. I thought I'd put the Bugs.
So that'd be a little hard to drive her home and then leave for the weekend.
You know, it was a challenge. It was September, and I couldn't drive it because, of course, I had to get plates and insurance and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And by the time I got all of that taken care of, I drove it like 3 times before it was too cold to really do anything in it anymore. And so I literally probably drove that car under 10 times before I parked it in an unheated building for the winter. Which was sad.
Where did the car come from? What part of the country?
I bought it from a guy in Kalamazoo.
Kalamazoo, Michigan. Okay.
And he
about
said-
an hour south of where Third Stall is.
True.
Okay.
And I bought it from him, and he said that he bought it from somebody who had it out of California.
Okay.
So he was definitely, and I have no idea how many owners before it. Again, 5 coats of paint. It was Yukon yellow, and then it was red, white, and then finally blue. And the guy that I bought it from had owned it since he was 18.
Okay.
And so he did a bunch of different work on it, and it was just the car that he was playing and learning, and he was selling it in part because he had redone a 52 split window. And that won awards at Gilmore Car Museum.
Wow.
At the German car show there
Okay.
the next year. So a 52 split window, and I've heard, I have not run into him since, but I've run into people who know him and still call it John's car. His name was John, is John, and they you got John's car? Yeah, he always said he should have never sold that car. John, if you're watching, thank you for selling me your car. It is my dream. And hopefully what we are doing to it only makes you smile, because it's going to come out better than what I bought.
Yeah.
But he saved it. So thanks, John, for your work in
Yep.
saving this car.
Do you have any idea how long John owned it for?
He was, I hesitate to estimate his
Like a year
age.
or two or
Oh,
longer?
no. He owned it since he was 18, and he was a grown adult. So he
Okay.
had owned it for
years and years.
Yeah, over a decade.
Okay.
I don't think 2 decades.
Okay.
I would put him in his 30s. When
Oh,
he sold it
okay.
to me in 2013. So anyway, so that's a special picture because I don't own the Avogadro anymore, just Hendrick. This is one of my favorite pictures, and my kid who does the video, who's doing the video now, has an eye for pictures, and he actually took this picture, and it's one of my favorites. I posted that on Facebook, got all kinds of likes, including some people from Michigan who said, "Is that John's car?" So at some point maybe it'll be my car, but evidently this car had a history before it. So
I do look
just
at
like
this
it.
picture differently than I used to. 2 years ago, I would have looked at it and go, look at that clear blue sky, sea blue sky. Oh, there's a beautiful sunset. What a great, you can see the colors reflected. And now I look at it and go, huh, that trim doesn't match up with that trim at all.
Yes. And if you went underneath it, you'd find even more.
Yes.
So, okay, took it in some parades. So this is a parade that we've got here in town, Holland. And I was one of the few Volkswagens, loads of, I claim they were, cheering for the bug. My wife there is saying that it's about our cute dog. But I'm convinced. And once again, look at that door. Hey. Anyway, so we are. So well loved and used. And now, do you happen to remember when I first asked you about I want to paint my bug, but it has some body issues? If you had to guess the year, maybe year, month, time frame,
Oh, I'm
do you
never
have
going
an
to get
idea?
month.
Well, you might
I feel
be
like
if you think of it.
I remember sitting around a campfire in your backyard with you talking about it, and I feel like I do remember talking.
Okay.
I'm not saying this was the
time.
time.
That's not what I put down on my paper here, but that's
Well,
okay.
but I remember, I feel like it was early on. You were testing the waters on a little bit. Like, is this something we could do? Could we fix it? But I don't remember when we actually decided to go, yeah. Where I had the gumption to say to you, yeah, I think we can do this without me really having any idea whether we can or not.
Okay, well, I do have a clear
My memory's
memory.
not very good about it,
Yeah,
so that's fine.
I do have a clear memory of it. Oh, sorry, there's one more picture. We just sold it, a 62 Scotty, and I loved putting the car in front of the Scotty, and then people would think that the car pulled it, but it never did. It really, just pulling people is hard enough for it.
The colors look nice.
So,
though.
sorry, I thought I had it. All right, so this, I believe, is the next. I don't have a preview of my next picture. There it is. That is the place.
Oh, spring break.
Yes. Spring break
2019.
2019, you, at this cabin that we had rented for spring break in North Carolina, you were watching Formula One videos.
I was a little hopped up on
And
cars.
the big discussion that we had, and our wives would tend to leave the room, was about what color should the Mustang be. Because you had started Third Stall, you had started the podcast.
That's right.
Of Third Stall, just being honest here, as we hiked around North Carolina, I thought to myself, what a stupid idea. Number one, nobody makes money on YouTube except for like 5 people. And one of them is a kid who just unwraps stuff.
Yeah.
Number two, why would you possibly want to have all this extra work of making videos all the time?
You were right.
And so that was my thinking. But you were going into the Mustang, and you had done a lot of work on the Mustang. And I don't know if you want to say anything, but that is where we said the Mustang should be gray with shadow stripes.
Yep. Yeah. So for those of you that haven't watched other videos, I have coincidentally a 66 convertible I'm restoring as well, which is a Mustang, obviously. And because we're having so much fun on this and other reasons, the Mustang's sitting in another stall. I really haven't touched it in about 1.5 years.
Thanks,
it's all
Doug.
Dale's fault. Talking about colors, I have kind of settled on a deep gray steel metallic with either ghost SS stripes or maybe black stripes. So my desktop on my computer, I kept going through different color schemes. And I've had that color scheme on my desktop for about 1.5 years now, and I still like it every time I look at it every day. So I think that might be the colors that I like.
And that's where
and
it
that was
happened
where,
VRBO or Air, whatever it was.
Yep. We often spring break together.
Yeah.
My wife
That's
and
going to
I-
come up.
Oh,
That's going to come up.
okay.
So
Our wives get along as well as we do, if not better.
So this is the place then where I'm like, okay, hey, you've been doing all this welding, not realizing anything about welding and how most of your welding was on frames and quarter-inch steel. But anyway, and I said, I want to get Hendrick painted, but I know it has body work. And at the time, I thought it was just really the front end.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice the door, but the front end. And what do you think? And you were like, yeah, we could do this. And so that's where it happened, but no feet on it at all.
Yeah.
It was just a someday that would be awesome to do.
Yep.
And then we just went on for the next couple of years, and this is the bug, and so this is my kid and his wife at their wedding. It was the getaway car, and I'm not sure that they know how poorly it was running. And this is now.
I don't think they cared. It was their wedding.
July of 2021, and they wanted the Bug to be their getaway car, which a Volkswagen Convertible was my wife and I's our getaway car. It was just somebody we didn't even know, actually. We just talked to a Volkswagen club and got somebody who was willing to drive us. But anyway, so I'm like, yeah, you bet. But actually, it was running horribly. And I was trying, I really was hoping that it would work. So this is July of 2021.
Okay.
And it's clearly having some engine issues. But it worked. And they never knew the better. And it did get home. And then that summer, late in the summer, it took the fateful trip where my wife and I took it to late summer to go get ice cream. And we were probably a good 45 minutes away from our house. We were going to the farthest one because it was such a lovely drive, and the generator died.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I ended up doing all kinds of internet research while we're sitting there because, of course, if you know anything, it's like the belt didn't break, but it acted like the belt broke because of my generator lights on, and it's an air-cooled engine, and is everything going? And basically what I found out pretty quickly in doing the looking at the car, et cetera, is that I can drive this thing. I'm like, we just have to get home before it gets dark.
Yes.
Because as long as we keep, we aren't going to have power.
Yeah.
And of course, it seemed to get dark extra fast. And so, but I did get it home. And that is what inspired in the fall of 2021. Then I'm like, okay, I need to work on this engine because it is not doing well and it's got a dead generator.
Ben, did you realize it wasn't running well? Ben's over there behind the camera.
I was none the wiser.
None the wiser. Phew. Kids are oblivious. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to disappoint, I'm just so glad I was like, anyway.
Yeah.
So now it is the fall and winter, and I'm like, okay, I need to clean up the engine, and I've decided I've been saving money. Let's spend some money. So this is inside my house in the basement.
Nice.
I turned it into a shop because I have an unheated space where I store it, but it's cold in the winter in Michigan. And so here I am. I've got my front seats are out, and I'm starting to pull apart things, and I'm watching videos. And
as you remember in the picture, that was all black vinyl before, right?
Yeah,
the
it
interior.
was a black TMI interior that I don't know when it was put in, but it was getting sad and tired. And by now, I owned it from 2013 to 2021, so we're looking at almost 10 years.
Yeah.
So, whatever. It's 9 years. I can do math, but not in front of people. So anyway, so it was time. I ordered the wide white wall tires. I debated a lot about those tires. And the first time you saw them, you're like, oh, you went with wide white walls. And I'm like, no, you were supposed to support me. But anyway.
I'm a white letter tire fan all the way. My Mustang will not have white walls over my dead body.
Well, and
I won't be putting stock rims on either. But Dale's wrong about a few things. There's more.
We'll see who gets more likes in the car shows. So lots of Volkswagen stuff. I pulled a whole bunch of parts out. I sandblasted. I didn't sandblast. I paid to get them sandblasted because I didn't, have access, and then paid to have them painted. And I had everything painted with that platinum gray or a bit of a cream color, kind of a thing. And I also at this time I'd been stalking them for quite a while. I placed an interior order with Lenny at West Coast Restorations. Right, Lenny Kopp is like, you got to go to Lenny. You got to go to Lenny. Little did I know. I got into Lenny at a point when Lenny was taking orders, but no longer doing the orders anymore. The company was in the process of getting sold to move up to Oregon.
Okay.
And so I placed the order, and Lenny tells me it's going to be a while, but he doesn't say anything. And I don't know if they even had things finalized, but I'm like, hey, I got to get all this done before my interior comes.
Yes.
The interior I've been waiting and thinking about for a long time. Oh, shoot. I hopped in. All right. So that was the winter. I'm cleaning up the engine, and now it is the spring break of 2022.
2022.
Do you remember where we were?
No, my memory's horrible, Dale.
Okay, not North Carolina. We were on an island.
Yeah.
This is why we plan. My wife and I, really my wife, plan, and Doug just comes on. Where are we going on spring break
East
this
Coast,
year?
somewhere hunting?
No. Tybee Island.
Tybee. Yes.
We were at Tybee Island, and you didn't know it, but we were going to actually start.
Oh yeah, the beach house.
Yeah, so we're at the beach house, and we were going to start this journey. And unbeknownst to you, I had gotten us the coveralls, and look how nice and new they are.
They were so clean.
Yeah.
And stiff. We hadn't done anything in them yet.
Nothing.
We also had no idea what we were in for.
Well, that is very true. So we have no idea, but we know that we're starting that fall. So it's April 2022.
Yep.
And we got the coveralls, and on the way home from spring break, I get the call that I had gotten a call earlier in February. I called to say, hey, what about my interior? How long? Because I had ordered it back in October. And that's when I found out there's a new number. It's now in Silverton, Oregon, and there's no Lenny. It's the guy named Maury. And turns out Maury's a fantastic guy. And Maury explained that, Lenny had taken a bunch of orders. He was in contact. He bought the business, and he wants to make good on all those orders, but it's going to take time.
Yeah.
And so that was February. And then on spring break, I'm coming home from Tybee Island, and I get the call from Maury that the order's ready.
I remember that.
And they give me some pictures, and again, some miscommunications, and some of it is wrong.
Yeah.
And Maury just did a fantastic shout out to Maury if he ever happens to see this. But West Coast Classic Interiors is now what it's called, WCCI. And Maury did a great job of going, hey, we're here to make it right. And again, in the transition, some of the information didn't get carried over. And so they remade stuff, and I really appreciated that. It was super exciting to get all those panels. And so this is where it starts to feel real. This is, in a lot of ways, this is the first thing I bought was the coveralls. For third stall anyway. But now I have my new interior, and now it's spring, so I got to put all of this back. And I pulled it apart, and I took I cleaned everything, and I bought a new generator. And I remember reading somewhere about car restorations and how no matter how long you think it's going to take you, even if you think you're going to put the part back on tomorrow, it should go in a plastic bag labeled so that aliens could come 500 years from now and assemble your car. And that is so true, because I started to have to put it back together, and months after I had taken it apart, only months, not years. But I did. I got it all back together again, and I was pretty proud of myself. And it ran like a top.
That's awesome.
It was beautiful. I did not do anything with the lower engine.
Okay. So what all did you do to the upper engine?
It was a lot of just everything was caked in grease and grime. And so like no air was flowing through. If you know Volkswagens, there's a fan shroud here, and that's what blows the air over the cylinders here. And in this version, the oil cooler sits on top of the transmission, and it is not on top of on top of the engine.
Yeah.
But it's in the fan shroud.
Yeah.
And so the air is supposed to blow through. I could not see. It's supposed to be kind of a
like a radiator.
Yeah, like a radiator. Thank you. And that oil cooler, plugged. I could not see any light through it at all.
Okay.
So the engine's hot that way. Hot. And then the carburetor. I got this great advice. I did not rebuild my carburetor, evidently. I did buy all new seals and stuff. And the advice I got was to recondition it or whatever is basically take it apart and then shoot carb cleaner in one hole and watch what hole it comes out of.
Yeah.
Because there's all kinds of little holes. And what would happen is I would shoot carb cleaner in and it would come out of a hole, but like in a weird angle. And then I just keep doing that, and it kept getting better and better until you got like a beautiful 12-degree spray going in a direction that the hole was pointing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what it's supposed to do. So I think everything was just gunked up.
Sure.
I really didn't fix anything. I just cleaned it.
Cleaned it.
And the whole thing, you could tell the engine was running cooler. And of course, a new generator helped. That gave me a lot.
But you didn't pull the engine out at that point.
No,
so we
never
didn't do anything
pulled
to the tins or.
No, I pulled the tins that are around it all. I did pull all of those off, just because I wanted to paint them and stuff. So
and you just
make it look good.
Rattle canned them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. But yeah, I think the carb was, I think, my biggest problem.
Sure.
And I just watched a couple of Chris Vallone videos about reconditioning, and he has a video about reconditioning a carb, and it's my exact one.
Nice.
A 28 picked one.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, super good. Super exciting. I did, and you maybe remember this.
I remember this.
So this is you've got your
crossover
exhaust,
tube.
Your heater tube, and everybody's is plugged. Mine's totally plugged. I tried. We ended up drilling through it and cleaning it, and then I did a high temperature heat paint, and you have to bake it. And so I was baking it in our oven there. So that was kind of fun.
You hoping it would rise and become more efficient?
It would maybe get bigger. I don't know. And then, so now the correct interior is coming. Look, it's all lace, and there's the car in the background. And super fun.
Super pretty.
And there's the beautiful wide white walls with pie crust.
That first one looks so nice.
It's boring. So I did, that's all cleaned off and painted. There's all the engine tins hanging. So this is all me. It's in the summertime now. So you're busy at camp. I'm busy doing this, maybe texting you pictures of what I'm doing. And it's me just getting everything ready. And this is its own, I don't know if this is going to be interesting to people, but so Maury contacts me and he says, so Dale, we've got a bit of a problem. And I'm like, what's that? And he says, you have a convertible and I do not have a convertible seat. The lower seat is smaller than a regular Volkswagen Beetle. And he said, I don't have a template for a convertible seat of your vintage, kind of a thing. And he said, so here's what I want to do. You send me your frame. I'll put it all together, and then I'll send back you the finished product. And then I will have the template because you have an original seat. And I said, yes, I do. So this Wolfsburg West box went from California to Michigan with parts for me with the padding for the back seat.
Yeah.
And then I packaged it up and sent my frame to Maury and West Coast Classic Interiors in Oregon so that they could put together my seat for me. So if you get a West Coast Classic Interior 60s Beetle convertible, it's based on my car. Super cool. And Maury then sent it. So this box went across the country twice.
That's cool.
I think that's kind of fun.
Do you get any royalties?
I guess
for
4
every-
times because they send it back, send it.
Yeah.
No, it's 3 times.
Yeah.
So anyway, no royalties.
No
I
royalties.
just get to know. But
Because
they
if so,
did
Third Stall
such
wants a
nice
cut.
job. Oh, there you go.
Uh,
But such a nice job because you can't buy, like if you get a TMI interior, even if you get the 66 only, and these are all nuances, but they don't have it go the way it's supposed to go. So it's supposed to stop before the turn, and in the rear seat stop before the turn as well. So I did a bunch of Samba stuff, had people with original seats and whatnot. So they just did a fabulous job. Really appreciate that.
so you were pretty meticulous about wanting it to be right.
I wanted
and
my-
holding Maury to it.
And isn't this? It's so weird. Like the interior,
Yeah.
the seats, I really wanted to be right.
Yes.
And I'm gonna put rims that aren't the right rims on it. And I want to put, I've got changes. So like, why do
Yeah.
I care about what I care? In the end, I want the car to be what I want. I want a T handle. I don't want a push button handle.
That's
So
true.
whatever. But this part, I really wanted to be the 66 only. And they just did a fabulous job making it look like that.
There are a lot of things
So-
about you that I wonder, Dale.
And then this is another piece where it's technically not supposed to have a two-tone, but I really love the two-tone. So, but they just did really nice work. So this is the stuff from
I'll say
once
the,
they got
the
it
interior
to me.
looks beautiful. Like the seats are so nice. Yep.
Lovely,
Yep.
lovely, lovely. So there it is. This
Oh, look at
must
that new
this must
interior.
be July 29, because on July 29 of 2022, I completed the restoration 1.0.
So, little reference if you're watching, whenever you're watching this, we're filming this in June. What's the date? Day 9?
Yeah, today is
June 9 or something.
June 11.
June 11 of 2024. So, this is approximately 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So you got the interior and the engine back together, and you went out and drove it for months and months and months and enjoyed it.
Well, it just
Not really.
And look how beautiful that engine. It ran like a top. It's just beautiful. But boy, there's chips here. This is part of what convinced me to do third stall.
Yeah.
Ironically, it looks gorgeous, but
From a distance.
I want that new paint job, and I
Yeah.
know that there's body work it needs, and I want it to fit the interior and the engine. Like, I want it to be better.
Yeah.
I want it to be better. So I took it to some car shows, and yeah.
Here's the other thing you got to know, just difference between Dale and I. You will own this car forever.
Yeah.
You'll probably get buried in it or something ridiculous. You'll will it to your kids thinking that Ben will keep it forever. And he won't.
No, once
That's
I'm
okay,
gone,
Ben.
you decide.
I will probably put the same amount of time and energy into my Mustang and don't care if I sell it 3 days later.
Oh!
So it's the difference between Dale and I. So
That's so sad.
I don't know, it's just a car.
That's it. I'm unsubscribing. Oh, my. Yeah, this is my dream. It's been my dream for a long time.
Yep.
So, yeah. Boy, I just kind of want to sit on this slide a little bit.
It does look pretty.
And, we figured it out for 2 months and 2 days.
2 months and 2 days.
Yeah. And there's a car show for the July 4 car show. That was the first car show that we took it to, because finished it on June 29.
That is a great picture of you in the hubcap.
Isn't that cool? It's just beautiful.
It is beautiful.
And
It really
then-
was a sharp car. Oh no!
And
There's the Mustang.
It's Labor Day weekend. Now
Yep.
we're at it.
So let's
You're done.
put captions to this picture. What's Doug thinking?
Oh,
Let's tear this puppy apart. Why did I say yes to this? Huh.
So 2019.
How do we go about this?
Now what do we do?
Yeah.
He actually called my bluff on it.
Yeah. I wasn't serious, Dale.
April 2019, you said yes, and here we are.
Here we are.
Labor Day weekend, camp's over, and it's like I drove it up, and it's 2022.
We, for those of you who are familiar with third stall, we rotated the car sideways so the Beetle was crossways in the front so we could attack it faster.
And then this is Brother Ron was there, and
Yep.
and Ron's got a 79 triple black
Yes.
Epilogue
Yep.
Beetle, and so we drove around. We took some almost like last pictures, right? I mean, like if this goes horribly, at least you'll have some pictures.
Yep.
So we drove around, took some pictures. You climbed on the roof and the intro.
Videotaped them. Yeah.
Videotaped the intro.
If
when
you
we
look at
drive
that intro,
in.
you can see the very last clip. You can see my shadow standing on the roof.
And so
What you do when you don't have a drone?
Yeah. This is the last time it was together.
That was a moment.
And then the first time the engine was out since I ever owned it. And I'm like, be careful. I spent a lot of time on that.
And really, it was like a weekend. It was holiday weekend, Labor Day weekend. We went at it for 3 days straight.
Friday, Saturday, didn't go Sunday, Monday.
3 days.
In 3 days. And I thought this was the hard part. And anybody who's done restorations is going to be like, that's funny. Taking it apart is not hard. Putting it back together.
Straightening it.
And
We haven't done
straightening
putting
it.
it back together yet.
Oh, gosh. So
What Dale hasn't figured out yet is we put everything in baggies and mislabeled them. It's a really good practical joke that he's going to find out about a year from now.
Well, and the three of us are working on it, so it came apart so fast. And I just remember I was working on like the door. I looked up, and you've got the gas tank out, and I've never had the gas tank out, and I'm like, you took pictures of that, right? And all of a sudden you're like, hey, can you pull on the wiring harness? And I'm inside working on something, pedals or something. And I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking I'm just going to tug on it. And the whole wiring harness comes out from the front. And I'm like,
I remember.
did you label these or anything? Like all of these wires. I mean,
There's so many in a Beetle.
but there's still more than I know what
12
to do.
of
Where do
them.
these go?
Yeah, you had a couple looks on your face that
my
weekend
gosh.
of like,
Terrified.
oh, this is going faster than I thought it would. And I'm like, it's okay. Just pull this out. We labeled them.
we'll figure
take
it out.
pictures.
Yeah,
We had to take a
well,
couple
you did-
hundred pictures that weekend.
We did a lot of pictures, and I think this was wise. You did video of
Yeah.
where the wires were, and I do
we
still
talked
have
them
those.
through. You better
But
still have those.
I didn't expect it to be this long. So, like, I
Neither
have
did I.
moved those videos and organized them because I'm afraid they're going to get lost. You can't leave them on your phone.
Well, that's
and
true.
And we had to put them in a Google Drive because you have yours on your phone. I have
Yeah.
mine on my phone. I don't think
Yeah.
Ron used a phone at all. It was like,
No.
let's keep it to two.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then do you remember this? What we found?
No.
So this was it was glued.
Oh, that's
This was we definitely, this is stuff where it's like the door always worked and you can see it's all chipped and nobody, the molding was never put in. But that's where I found out it was like rubber cemented in.
That's right.
And I'm thinking, boy, it must be because you can't, buy those screws. No, you can buy a little kit for
Yeah.
like $5.
Yeah.
And then you got all new, and now I have all those screws. But, I could see, again, who knows who did it? It doesn't really matter. But, at some point, if somebody didn't have the right screws, at
Yep.
least they didn't screw up the threads,
Yeah.
putting, a non-metric thing in it. But,
Yeah.
and again, it was probably last redone in the 90s when the
Yeah.
car was worth a third or half of what
Yeah.
it is. And, with what they had and when they had it.
It became I remember feeling very strongly that it would be nice to have everything go back together right.
Yeah.
Knowing that every single nut and bolt and screw has come out. It will either be in good shape or we'll put a new one in. And you could see a lot of things like this had been painted, but it was just sticking out of the hole. Whereas now, nobody ever took that out before.
Yeah.
So we'll take it apart, clean it, grease it, fix it up if there's bushings that are worn or holes that are worn, and it will be right when it goes back in, which will just feel good.
Yeah. It's so true. So there, you know, again, I thought that was dramatic. that looks pretty good.
It kind of is dramatic.
It hasn't looked that good for a long time. And then I do remember somewhere in here, I made the comment, Doug, you made me turn. You made me. Notice how I say that. Doug, I brought my car to third stall, and you turned it into your Mustang. You know, this was a nice car, and so I really, and I don't know if you remember, but we had like 20 bins, and a Volkswagen. I mean, we don't really need as many as we have, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's nine bins. You can fit a whole Volkswagen in nine bins that aren't even very full.
Have you been out in my garage shop recently, though? Your Volkswagen has spread out much farther than those 9 bins.
Oh, what can you say? So, and then I love that picture. Like, there's nothing, you know. Oh yeah, Studley. That's my nickname now. It really did feel cool. All right, so now we're really getting into it, pulling it apart. It's Labor Day. Here it is, September 9.
Okay.
It's one for the books, because September 9 is when we had discovered all the Bondo. And that's when I wrote in my journal, in it now.
Yeah.
That was the moment. We hadn't gotten there quite yet. In this picture, we were messing around with, can we, take paint off with chemicals?
Yep.
Do we grind it off? How do we get the paint off? But that's when we started to find with the discs, and we found all this Bondo and
thick.
Yeah.
It was thick in places, like a lot of places 1/8 inch, quite a few places 1/4 inch thick Bondo, overlapping welds that they would just, edge weld and then slather it down. Somebody was really good at making it look good.
yeah.
Whoever did the finishing of the Bondo was better than the guy who did the welding, it seems like.
In terms of, those are different skills.
Yeah. Yep.
And I had no idea. And this wasn't even in the bad part, right?
Yeah.
This was in some cases, the Bondo part, it's like, oh, this is the panel that looked good. Well, now I know why.
Yeah.
But I remember hitting it with the disc and just having dust fly everywhere. And I'm like, boy, this paint is really weird. And the dust is flying. And that's when I stopped. And as I remember it, you were like, okay, there's a lot more Bondo here than what we thought. Dale, what do you want? Like, we could just go and fix the stuff you said, but I think we're going to find there's a lot more. And I remember you were the one who saw it before I did, and probably because you'd watched more videos than me of just how bad it can be.
Yeah.
But I remember you saying to me, like, what do you think? What do we do? And this is the decision spot, because if we keep going, it's not,
Yeah.
And I do remember saying to you, well, we're in it now.
Yeah.
And that's what I wrote in my journal on September 9.
How far do we want to go down this rabbit hole?
Yeah. And
Yep.
I have we'll get to that toward the end, but it's like, it's 2022. We talked about this in 2019, and this was supposed to be a let's work on it for one winter, and then I'll get it painted in the summer, and maybe you'll help me in 2023 put it back together.
Yeah, that was the original plan.
The original plan. And I was like, yeah, this will be great. I just won't have my car for one summer.
Yeah, and then I'll be back working on my Mustang
And you'll
again.
be back at the Mustang. That was the original.
Yeah.
So it's September and October, and we are trying to figure out how to take off paint. And so there I am grinding, or somebody is. That might be you. Or it could be Ron. Can't really tell.
Yeah, I don't know.
Somebody in a third stall coverall.
Yep.
this is a momentous part because we had actually ground off all the paint as best we could and realized, you know what? Number one, there's a lot of welds here
Yep.
that need to be redone, and we had to decide, do we sandblast it?
Yep.
Because you just can't get it all off.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, now what do we do? And so it's November. It's getting cold. We can no longer work with, the shop door's open here.
Yep. Yeah.
And
God bless our neighbors.
oh
for
my
being,
gosh, I still can't believe it.
And once, if not twice a week, we'd have like 3 angle grinders going, you, Ron, and I, with wire brushes.
For 4 or 5 hours.
For 4 or 5
constant.
hours. I mean, you could hear it a block away in the neighborhood, and I had not a single neighbor complain.
I can't believe that. I kept waiting for the cops to show up.
So glad for all the times I've mowed their yards or plowed their driveway in the winter to earn some goodwill. But yeah, we had the transmission, the rear axle, and the windshield in yet at that point. But you're right. I remember lots of discussion about how far do we take it, and do we sandblast? Do we keep grinding?
And I feel like it was you, like both the wisdom and stupidity of Doug, is what I find.
That's going to be the quote
That's
for
maybe
the
going to be a theme. Because
all
I
you
feel
need
like
is a willingness to try. No, all you need is wisdom and stupidity.
in the right proportions.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's like there's no way we can get all the paint off with these angle grinders. You just can't get them in everywhere. And I think that's when you said that the different John, not the one who owned the car.
Coworker
John had a
portable sandblaster.
Yeah, and I'm like,
one of those cheap tank ones.
Yeah, and it's like that would do a better job.
Yep.
So that's when we decided. But I feel like I was taking your advice, and I'm so glad I did.
Phew. I wasn't sure how you were going to end that sentence.
But it was like, oh boy.
For the record, Dale has never punched me, so I haven't made him that mad yet.
My legs are really stronger than my arms, so I might kick you.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I mean, at this point, frankly, while it felt like a monumental point, it definitely was. The reality of it is really sinking in, and then to sandblast just felt like both a combination of the right way to do it and so much more time.
Yeah.
And but it's like, what do you want to say? 5 years from 10 years from now, when you're riding in the car, what do you want to say? So, and you had access, and coworker John's ready to do it for free to lend us the thing. So so we pulled out the windshield, and that'll be a whole video in how we get that thing in, because people talk about cracking them. Like, just buy 2 right at the way. The first one's for the one that you break when you learn how to do it, and the second one actually goes in. But there's Ron.
Yep,
there
my brother Ron. I don't know, where's my bib? I didn't have that.
You would already thrown it in the wash. I'm like, go get your thing. You're like, I just threw it in the laundry.
So that's my older brother Ron. So Dale, third stall, my garage, I've got 2 stall garages. The side I was in, it was very nicely well lit and heated. And Dale spent what seemed like most of the winter in the other side where
I can tell you, November, sandblast, or actually not sandblast, media blast. It's
media
glass
blast.
beads,
Okay.
but media blast. December, media blast. January, media blast. I finished media blasting.
I'm getting the sense he's whining a little bit
in the very beginning of February. Yeah.
So that's about 1 night a week.
Yep.
Sometimes 2.
Yeah, sometimes a Saturday.
In the cold, in the dark, with a little work, like laying underneath the car, sandblasting, shaking the thing, and then unplugging the hose. And
because the tank, all of a sudden your media wouldn't come out, but if you shook the tank, then the media would come out again. I don't know exactly.
So it worked. Not amazingly well, but it worked. We were thankful to have it. And I didn't think it was that bad. I was in the warm, dry, well-lit part of the shop.
Do you know what you were doing?
Working on the Beetle.
No.
No,
I'm media blasting And so I moved over into the unheated cold section of the garage, which meant you had the Mustang and you had an empty stall. Do you remember what
Yes,
you...
my daughter. Love her dearly. This is the third project. She sucked up chunks of my life in. So she needed a new car, so we bought a Subaru with a great body and a blown engine, and then rebuilt an engine to put it in it. That's right. Forgot all about that.
So basically, November, December, January, for 3 months, I'd show up at third stall, help you with any, find out how the Subaru project's going. Then I'd don all of my stuff, and I'd go into the freezing cold garage where we had the tarps, and I'd just shoot glass beads at this thing, little by little by little by little. And then sometimes you'd pop over and ask for a hand picking something up or holding something for the Subaru.
Take a little...
And I was just glad to get in the heat. So it's like, but yeah. And so then this is what we found.
All kinds of pretty.
You look at that.
Oh,
Look at
man.
that.
I just patched little angle braces in, goober welded the heater channel.
That A pillar. And it's like, now I know why so many things didn't fit quite right.
Yep.
And I know what it looks like now. It's just, I showed some of these. I was just at a Volkswagen show this weekend and talking to somebody, and I was showing what we were doing. And they were like, wow, that's really nice work, because I showed them this, and then I showed, where it's what we've got it. But, again, they saved it. That I'm sure all of this was rust, and then it'd be a dead car.
Yep.
So, but definitely some expert Bondo work was done.
Yeah.
But now it's February, and we move it back to third stall, and you moved it. So the thing's bare metal. Like, if you look at it and breathe heavy, the humidity's going to make it rust. And I show up at third stall, and it's like you moved the bug.
From one side to the other.
Yeah,
through
in
the
the winter, through the snow.
It was a cool, dry, cold, low humidity day.
It worked.
I wanted to park in the garage again. It's winter.
It worked, so I couldn't be too angry. But I was like, if you had asked me, I think I would have said no.
I knew that. That's why I didn't ask.
Let's not do that. But now it's on. So it got moved over, and now, and I've since read. Oh, there's another A pillar.
Yeah, that A pillar was rough.
It's just like scary.
Yeah.
And look, there's just a hole here. And some of these holes, sandblasting didn't really work because they were full of caulk.
Yes.
Like there's just silicone caulk that I had to pull out.
Yeah.
Which is a way to fill a hole, I guess.
Yep.
So.
I remember somebody used a hot glue gun on the car at one point in time. We won't mention which one in the room it is, but it's not better.
I understand, necessity is the mother of invention. That doesn't mean it's always a good invention, but yeah. So now we decided we got to get at it, and took a lot of pictures.
That is so clean.
And then, oh man, I knew the tunnel was messed up.
Yeah.
But
they just cut big access holes in it. Did we cut the front firewall? It's not a firewall. The front.
Yeah.
Did we cut that out, or was that out there earlier?
I think we cut that out because you had done, because the original plan, we took some paint off, and you were starting to do welding.
Yeah.
So you had welded a patch and then cut this out, because our intention was always to do, at that point, was body off.
Yeah.
Because it was like, we're in it now. So anyway, and so it's like, well, we'll repair that when we get it off the body. So we did that. So that was not a hole left there.
Okay.
There was a ugly patch like that one.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Anyway, so more, and then we decided, and evidently this is the way you're supposed to do it anyway, inside out. And
Inside out.
We went into the luggage tray, where again, how many?
Oh yeah, middle of the car working outward.
Yeah.
Yep.
And And so we had to just take all of these patches.
That was one of the things we looked at first. Like, oh, this isn't too bad. And then you start looking at it further, and there's just pinhole after pinhole after pinhole and overlapping weld over overlapping weld. And we ended up, cutting all of this joint out and then butt welding it together, replace this whole section and this whole section and this. But dude, it's nice now.
Yeah. Well, and
It is.
that's the thing. And I think about the other piece of it, like, yeah, it's all going to get covered in carpet. Now we know that it's done well,
Yeah.
better, but also how much learning.
Yes.
And so much freer to learn in a trunk that's going to get covered in carpet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is where, in case somebody's watching, they're like, because sometimes I show my wife pictures and she'll be like, where is this on the car? Because
Yeah.
I'm so zoomed in and that's what I spent, 4
Yeah,
hours
hours
looking
looking
at. But this is the rear seat. So the engine is in the back of the car and it's underneath that luggage tray area. But anyway. But yeah, so we turned that, cut out all the pieces. This is my first patch.
Patch.
Because now it's like all the paint's off. What do I do? So I started making patches so that you could weld them and then I could grind them. So it was like I'd get there first, then you'd get there, and then I'd get there.
Yep.
Kind of a thing. But that's how it looks now.
Yeah.
All patched up and smooth but that was a big learning
so
curve.
pretty with a coat of paint on that.
Very big. And once we got the inside finished, and look at these. These were all, I should have maybe done a little more before and after, but yeah, those curves are no longer a bunch of weird patches. It all looks much better. And the Merriman Beetle has been crucial.
The
to
parts
having
Beetle's
some of these.
been
parts.
for comparison, and there was a lot of welding that looked like somebody had sneezed the welds out. But I mean, that was me welding years ago too, and yeah, the thin stuff that we can weld now that we couldn't weld 2 years ago is awesome. So big learning curve on the Mustang, then a big learning curve on Hendrick, which led us to doing quarter panels.
Yeah. So here, this is a significant moment. So
I'm not sure. I'm fairly sure I would have said no if we had known originally that we had to do quarter panels. I didn't think.
Oh.
I mean, if we knew.
Well, see, and that's one of my questions at the end, but you're right in there. So it's May, in this picture, it's May of 2023, and you're getting ready to go to camp.
Yeah.
So we're about to end, and we clearly have not finished. And so, but we are working on the outside of the car now.
Yeah.
And it is at this point, so it was a little less than a year ago,
Yep.
when we're standing there, scratching our chins and heads about how this quarter panel's going to go. It's the first thin metal outside, really the real challenge.
Yeah.
And we're standing there looking at it, and that's when I feel like under your breath said, I can't believe you let me do this to your car. And I went, what? You said you could do this. And you're like, oh, no, we're fine. Doug is a vision person. Wisdom, stupidity. No, I'm so thankful. And it's all working out.
It is.
But your confidence carried me through, and at times I would hope that maybe I offered something to carry us through. So
we were both probably low together at the wrong.
We were
wrong
both
moment.
low, going, all right, how's this gonna go? And the summer is here, and that's what Doug. That's how third stall happens.
That's how it works. There is.
Yeah.
I think there's a balance of so often, I don't know, just willing to go, I don't know how to do that, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I guess theoretically sometimes you run into dead ends, but to me the most challenging, intimidating part is long welds through the middle of panels. Because I've watched like Joe Daddy's Garage on YouTube and others where they do it and they're done and they grind it smooth and it didn't warp at all and you can't see the weld at all. And I don't know how much of that is real and how much of that they're just genius welders or how much of that is just they're making it look that way on YouTube. But, you know, we got it down to the point where I think any good body man will be able to fill that. And I wanted it to be as close as we could to not needing any Bondo, and that's just not realistic for our skill level. And so that was hard, and I think there was pressure that I knew for you. You wanted it back up, and this was taking a long time, and so it is what it is. Tons of learning, though.
Yeah. Well, and that's and I would have never. Yeah, and then we're kind of getting in some of the ending stuff, but it's like I would have never done something like this. And I so appreciate that in our friendship. And I've seen you, I mean, even with the Subaru, it's like, wow, do you know how to do all that engine stuff? And it's like, no, I don't know how to do it, but I have tools. Let's use them.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. And I tend to see the limitations instead of the opportunity.
Yeah.
And
there are so many good people in the world to help you, whether it's posting on I often revert to YouTube or Facebook forums.
Yeah.
You tend to go to the Samba.
Yep.
I mean, we even emailed Chris Vallone a question about door gaps.
Yeah.
And he responded back with what the door gaps could be. So, there's always a way to figure it out.
Yeah.
You got to believe that.
Yeah. It's a lot of good.
Yeah. That's the parts, Beetle.
Yeah, then we really started getting into using parts where it's like they just don't make this part. This fender spot for this mounting surface, nobody makes the front. And so having that 64 has and I several times my neighbor asked me if I wanted it, and I'm like, why would I want that? Again, I'd never restored anything. He's restored stuff, so he understood, and thankfully never listened to me, because I think I told him 2 or 3 times, I don't want that thing. You should just junk it. Just junk it. We'll see. And now it's turned out that, we're using the hood, we're using the deck lid, we're using parts off of it, yeah.
Thankfully, he never listened to you, huh?
Yeah, it's I'm so glad he did.
Maybe,
Always, life
maybe
goes better when people don't listen to me.
Maybe I should take a key from that.
So we're in 2023, and now it feels a lot more recent. So yeah, totally. And this is the kind of stuff where, and we mentioned it in the video, I've seen all kinds of videos, but people they put in the rear clip, but they never show it with the bumper, or they put in a front clip, and they don't, and it's like, getting all of that.
We started right up here.
Yeah.
This is a whole new piece off of the parts Beetle as well. So getting that in, then getting the engine cover in, and then getting the rear clip or the rear apron in, and then getting we had to totally re-weld the braces or the whatever.
The mounting surface, whatever
mounting
that you mounted to.
For the bumpers, and eventually ending up with a level flat bumper that cleared the engine deck lid cover. That was such a big win.
How long? How long do you think it took because that's what I have written down. From going in that upper valence all the way through to this picture, how long do you think it took us?
I'm so glad I don't keep track, but I'm guessing 2 months.
We started in January of this year, January 2024. We did not have a level bumper until we left for spring break. 3 months.
3 months.
We spent 3 months to get that picture. That's a little depressing.
It is.
But boy, no wonder nobody did it before.
Yes. But Ian, we will forever live with the satisfaction of knowing that the deck lid clears the bumper the right amount. Yeah. It's not tilted down in the back. It's not left to right. The overriders and the bumper braces are perfectly centered in the holes.
Yes.
I mean, we had to re-weld the whole inside of those fender wells.
Yeah.
But it's also perfectly square right now.
It's absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
3 months worth of work.
Yep. Yeah.
That picture.
3 months of classes.
3 months
education.
3 months of education.
Schooling.
So, and then we go on spring break, and we come back. So now it's April, and we're in the front, and it's April, May, and these last just couple of months, you made me hack off the front of the car. Because I always make you do all that.
You do. It took me a year and a half to realize all the hard cuts.
This is going to be really dangerous cutting. Hey, Doug, why don't you do this? You know, I got to have somebody to blame, and I don't want it to be me. I'll watch you. I'll hold something.
Remember one simple cut, and it was in the middle of a critical piece.
Yeah.
Like, here, will you cut that? And you're like,
no, I don't want to cut that. So,
It did look super funny when the nose came off, though. It looked kind of cool, a little Baja-ish.
Yeah, and of course, this is the original reason. So here we are from, whatever.
So knowing that I'm more of a mechanical guy than a body guy, I look at that and I think, ooh, that's going to be fun to work on that front axle beam and clean that up and paint it and put the lowering
adjustments
things in it. And I'm eager to get to that mechanical stuff and the reassembly. That's more of my sweet spot and love.
Well, and the way we ended up, the original front end had been replaced, but the reproduction was not very good. And the way we are putting the two of them together and ended up with a front clip and a hood.
And a hood.
And look at that gap. I went to a Volkswagen show, like I said earlier, this past weekend. And man, I see stuff a whole different way in both the work it takes to get something to look good and a certain amount of things I maybe wouldn't have noticed before that I do notice, but I also understand why. You know, that to get a car to this level is a lot of work and skill and effort and all of that, which is...
And this is by no means like a concourse restoration, but I can't imagine... I'm guessing if somebody wanted to do a concourse restoration, they're going to be putting a ton of money into it.
Yeah.
Which means they're probably going to start with a straighter car.
Yeah.
Than what we did.
I could see that.
They might start with a car and get it here, whereas we started with a car here and have gotten it there.
Yeah.
Or something. I think every exterior visible panel on yours is going to look immaculate.
Yeah.
It's if somebody gets really fussy and starts sticking their head underneath fenders or underneath, they're going to see some body panels that aren't stock or something.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's the end. So
things
to come. That's the everything we've done. Things that we have to go is I literally took a bunch of pictures of it today that I'm going to send to a painter.
Yeah.
Who says you show me pictures and we'll see if the guys want to paint it. And I'm hoping they like Volkswagens and want to paint it. But they can't do anything until winter or spring, which is about when we would have it ready, because we still got body work to finish.
Yep.
So more videos coming as we get into the fall.
Yep.
We have that. And then body off is going to be...
I can't wait for that.
It'll be a tense moment. I'll grow my fingernails so I can chew them. But we have to decide.
I'm excited. What makes you nervous about that?
Oh, man. The whole idea
you
is
just take the bolts out and you shake it and the bottom drops off.
There you go. It just sounds dangerous. We will have, and I wonder if anybody has, throw in a comment, especially if you have knowledge, because we don't. I've seen rotisseries that are metal.
Yep.
And that actually do rotisserie. They turn.
Yeah.
But you got to make that.
Yeah.
I've also seen made out of wood carts.
Yep.
And then do you have two pieces and the car is kind of holding the two pieces? Or do you make something that's the whole length of the car structure?
Yeah.
There's several at the Samba, so that'll be a major decision that we'll have that thankfully we don't have to make right when we get back, but it'll be soon.
Yeah.
To get that body off, and then we can get into that chassis work.
Yeah.
Which will be great. And then, in theory, body work is all set. And in the winter / spring of 2025, it goes to a painter. We're doing chassis work. And
Yeah.
then I would like to say a year from now, knock on wood, we have painted parts and it needs to get reassembled.
So in an ideal world, next spring, we're painting the floor pan and the transmission and axle beams and
Yeah.
all that stuff. So that'll be the first, that's another learning curve. It'll be the first painting we've done in third stall.
Yeah.
So I've got an air system that's set up for dry, regulated, filtered air, but haven't done mixing paint and paint guns. And so that'll be another fun learning curve. But we'll need that for this car and for the Mustang too. So
Might as well learn on my
might as
car.
well learn.
That's
We'll learn on the floor pans and stuff before diving into metallic gray on the hood of the Mustang, which is a whole nother learning curve. So would you do it again?
that is the question. Would you do this if you knew if I could go back to 2019 and you knew the skill level you had and you knew the time it was going to take and the effort, would you have said yes in 2019? Because in 2019, I asked you, do you think you could fix the front of my car so I can get it painted?
In my mind, I thought we would disassemble it like, here's the nose of the car. We would do a cut up from the bottom. We'd bend it straight and then weld it back up. That's what I thought we needed to do. I think if I knew then what we know now about how much work the car needed, I would have said no.
Yeah.
If I knew then how much work the car needed and knew how working on it would go and how much we would learn, I'd do it again.
That's fair. That's fair.
So if I had known how much work it was, I might have said no. Now that we've gone through it and learned what we've learned, I don't have any regrets.
Yeah. And I think I would probably say the same thing.
Yeah.
Where especially, of course, in 2019, it was still running nice.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like in a lot of ways, the partial restoration I did and the 2 months and 2 days that I got to drive it,
Yeah.
where it was like, this car could be so much more.
Yeah.
That really made me less satisfied for it. I don't know that again, it's easy on the other side to go like, no, this is going to come out and it's going to take time and money. But we have the skill, we're going to learn the skills. It's going to come out as good as you think, it's going to be so great. I would totally say yes. But on the front end of it, I think I probably would have been like, no, I'm just going to I'm going to settle because I think it's going to be too big a job. So I'm so glad we didn't know.
Yes.
I'm so glad. And I talked to somebody who restores cars, and I was telling him about the journey, and he just smiled at me like, you clearly haven't done this before. Because his response at the end was, well, nobody gets a car and says, well, this is better than I thought it was. But I really do. I feel like, and the other side of it is, it's just been a blast.
Yeah.
We would not be seeing each other every week.
Yes.
For the last 3 years.
Yep.
If we didn't have this to come around. So
it feels a bit to me like, not that I've ever done real cliff jumping, but like if you could take somebody who for their first time jumped off a cliff into a lake and stop them 5 feet out and go, if you could go back, would you? They might say yes, but at that point they've committed.
Yeah.
And afterwards they're glad they did. you know.
It's not a bad
We
analogy.
took a jump.
We're still falling.
We're still falling.
There's water down here, I swear.
But, you know, we'll have a great story when we're done. And admittedly, you would often go out for drives with me in the Beetle when I would come over. And I enjoyed it. It was okay. It was nice. It was more of a thing for you than it was for me. And I will enjoy it so much more now. I will look forward to seeing this Beetle and going for a ride every time I come over because we will have so much pride in it.
Yeah.
And that journey with a friend and the memory and the learning that's what it is for me.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
Yeah. So cool.
Yep.
Love it. And, you know, if somebody out there is restoring something, you know, get somebody who is willing to take the journey with you. If not in the actual shop.
You just need a stupid friend.
You just need a stupid friend who's wise enough to say, we can do this.
Yep.
You know, all you need is willingness to try. So, cool.
Good.
That's our summary. I don't know if you got any closing thoughts or remarks. But
For those of you that have followed along, thanks for being part of the Third Stall Garage. It's been fun to be able to share this. I love the people that have been encouraging along the way. I love the people that have shared comments and suggestions by email or by clicking a comment below. But God bless you. Hope you've got a fun project. Hope you have good friends like I do. Be a good friend to somebody and have a great day.
Nice. Whew. All right, Ben, now you got to turn that into 12 minutes.
That's easy. You just put it on 1200% speed.
Yeah.